today we're going to talk about how we can bring people together in a shared desire, a shared goal, something that everybody will benefit from, and not only will they benefit from that goal by working together, they all sort of benefit these sort of side goals as well, and everybody gets there in a much more beautiful way. So, how is this going to happen here? Well, at this particular organization, this tribe cxc, our vision is a world where creative expression may shine through organic local support to become a global sensation. So we've taken the time to write down what's important to us. And then we also have our mission, which is to provide tools to nourish budding creators into full bloom, to seed a culture that values genuine creative expression as a key to unlocking the full human experience. And this human experience that is rich, abundant, and allows each individual to fulfill their purpose in a collective world. So this is like this idea that we're exploring now is how we can decide what our goals are collectively and how we can move towards those goals, take steps towards those goals in meaningful ways. And I sent out the question of what have you seen in the world, what have you seen in other cultures, or in other organizations that are things that you'd like to sort of bring along, that you would want to bring into a group that you are organizing. So Corellia is here today with us, and she has a lot of experience with collective groups of women, as well as experiences in Peru with different cultures, different indigenous, as well as just all the different people that live in Peru.
As well as families. As well as big families. Yeah, I grew up surrounded by a lot of cousins, like a lot of people always, so at times it was a bit overwhelming because you see like many different people, many different ages, many different personalities, and most of the time it was just enjoying family time or sharing, and that was one of the main goals most of my childhood, like to share and like just feel like a family. And with time I started to see how this sense of collective was reducing, because I moved out with my parents. I wasn't having much contact with this big family I was living when I was very little, and then it was reducing more and more. So I grew up having these feminine and masculine figures from different persons, and these allow also my personality to develop in a way that who I want to be, who I am want to be in a certain group. Because having these patterns and all what you observe, it leads you to finding this personality that you want to be in, and find your uniqueness. And sometimes it leads to also like copying other people, but at the end with maturity you learn to understand like that it's about like just being yourself and discovering what is actually your inner self that you suppress sometimes, or it's still asleep. And with groups that are more conscious, that I have been in touch, I have seen myself as a different person, and I always find myself in different collectives, like being a different person. And sometimes I wonder like if it's that I'm just volatile and that's wrong. It's actually not, because every circle, every collective, every group has different energies that are coming from these different energies from the other people. So at the end, the organism, it shines, it brings out to you what you the group needs. So I often find myself being like some kind of time like the protector, or sometimes like the child, or times the but it's always like for seeking the purpose of growth as a collective. And I think that this brightest vision that I see, it's like, is with this purpose, instead of like competing with other entities, with other people in the same group. It's about collaboration and being the person that the group needs to have, according to your abilities, according to what you have to offer, because you know yourself and you're observant, and letting your vibration tunes you into that body of energy, that it may help all this circle grow
Yeah.
in a bigger way.
So, like you've talked about adopting different roles in different collectives.
Yeah.
And, starting out growing up in this big family home, I would imagine that, you have these very obvious goals. You need to eat, you need to get what you need to do. So how has your role evolved in helping, how were you helping that sort of collective goal when you were a kid? Do you feel like maybe there could have been more use for you? Because the reason I say that is I feel like a lot of times as adults, sometimes parents, like, we put our kids into boxes of what the culture says they should be, but in reality the kids have a very important part in society, and that role is to inspire us, and to get us out of our thought patterns, which keep us from evolving. So, side thought aside, how has your role evolved then now in, maybe collectives with women, or with CXC, or with even Skillshare now, or any of your other projects? And what was working? Like, what would you want to take with you as far as that discovery process?
Well, I think it has evolved a lot, because I used to be a very stubborn child, like and even though sometimes I would like to do what I wanted, there were some times that I would feel really rejected. So that rejection sometimes will lead me to like get angry and isolate myself, so I can do what I want to do without like the need of explaining myself, or without the need of like if something happened with the other people, or if I'm with other friends, and without causing any trouble. That's what's the thing. Without causing any trouble was my main thing, and my big, I think, barrier, limitation during my childhood, like being worried that I'm not gonna cause any trouble. So, right, that was my big worry. So I would isolate myself in order to do what I really wanted to do, not get in trouble, because I was being careful or whatever. So, yeah,
So how is that serving a collective goal? So,
I
or are you
think
saying
that I
that?
wasn't serving any collective.
Yeah.
That's like I grew up like um, also like I think I had a good time with especially with my sister at a certain point, when we used to play teachers all the time. Like, we'll pick a book, and I'll teach that book, and then she'll teach me next day, and I will teach her the next day. And we'll do this in vacations, and we'll enjoy it. So during vacation, we're still doing exams and stuff like. So I prepare exams and tests as well for her, and she will prepare tests for me. And I think I knew that we were enjoying, or both were enjoying this practice. So
Well, also, that's a collective goal. Part of the collective goal of the family is to raise the kids. So that's part of it.
it
I
was
think so
that
for
was a
sure.
positive that was a positive way that how I contribute And yeah, there was some moments where like I did I did I did took a part of just enjoying myself and not trying to do anything, just being part of the group and following the vibe and following these big games that we used to have with like 10 cousins or 11 or 15 people, and we were all running around for like, and at that point I was like just, surrender to whatever it's the joy or stories, or we get tell stories and stuff. And I think right now in the last few years I have experienced uh, a different sense of community, a different sense of collective, that it's beyond what I observe with my eyes or what I hear with my ears. It goes more into a feeling, like when you feel like you are hold by a community, that you know that even though you're taking risks and embodying your fears and like, using them as tools, it's still scary, but you're not gonna fail, you're not gonna fall and kill yourself or something. You're still gonna be held up by this community because they are supporting you, they're holding you back, so you can just trust and let go of yourself, and you're gonna be safe no matter what. So
Yeah.
yeah, and in many circles that I have participated, like we often use these sort of like cards that are around the circle, so that they're set up intuitively, like randomly, and at the end of the circle someone will pick out the card that they feel like called to and reveal it. And sometimes we will set an intention like that's the role of that circle, like this kind of is more like related to your role, what and sometimes yes, sometimes it was very coincidental, you're like, man, that's really it, that was because we talk about this, she talk about that, and everybody show how they were related with each other, so when they go to reveal the cards, like it makes sense.
Mm.
And these roles are like at way different, very different roles, very distinct roles that are powerful but yet so important. And I think defining these roles as well as it's important for not leaving anything behind or leaving anybody behind, or and yeah, I think that would be my motivation about it.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. Um, I think it's only fair I ask myself the same question. So, for me, when I was a kid, one thing that was sort of collective is like I grew up on a farm. So at my dad's house, we lived on a farm. We weren't like farmers, like that was not our source of living, but we did do farming activities. We had chickens, we had cows for a few years, we had turkeys many years. A big part of that was, the collectiveness of feeding the animals. And a lot of kids in my area, they had a lot of chores. A lot of kids that grew up on farms that actually produced a lot, they had a lot of chores. My dad was a lot like me, very structured. So he set up a system that we had to work. It was an hour a week, and we were there half the time, so it was really like 2 hours a week. And then he would pay us, and we would have these little check boxes. For each check was 15 minutes on like a checkerboard piece of paper. But that was sort of our like contribution to the family. And he would also, ask for help a lot, like, hey, can you help me? And but at the same time, he would give money, or he would pay us $5 an hour to help him out. So I guess in my young mind, I sort of developed this idea that, if you want people to help you, you got to like pay them money per hour, right? And that's one of the things that made it sort of hard for me to move ahead collectively, because I've always felt limited financially, and felt that because I was limited financially, I wasn't able to sort of pay people that I wanted to come along. So, moving forward to the collectives past then, I guess I've always not been super good at being in collectives. I was involved with like a rap group, but I never wanted to fully connect. I always felt the need to separate as well, like you said when you were a kid. Um, so now, like in my journeys through South America, I'm really learning a lot about, the other way to live, the community way to live, where people can just be themselves, and there doesn't necessarily need to be a financial component to every balance, every check and balance in the system. So now, I've been experimenting in things like Fractally and things like Eden, and I've been learning a lot about my role and about what is helpful and what is not helpful. So the idea here is we're talking about getting to a collective goal. And in both Fractally and Eden, I've felt like that collective goal wasn't really clear, and it was almost sort of difficult for people to even realize that. Then I started to have this bigger question about, like, well, how clear are we on what we're doing in life? How clear are we with ourselves about what we're doing in life? How clear are we with our partners, with our family, with our government, with our society, with the people we hang out with, our friends? Um, it got me thinking about, like, how do we define this? And before I've developed this, the temple structure, the vision temple structure, which we have for CXC. But I think that, you know, there's so much more opportunity for us to come together and work towards these goals. And we've seen things like DAOs, we've seen things like, DAOs, different types of DAOs, decentralized human organizations, worker proposal systems. So these are all ways that we can move forward collectively. But yeah, like, I guess to round out this thought, like that's my experience. Is like I was sort of raised in like a transactional model of collaboration, and I'm learning to break free from that, and really, instead of collaboration being, um, a bunch of people helping towards one person goal, how can we make it so that each person's individual goals, can be communicated together, so that we can together collectively redefine what our collective goal is, and then move forward with that. So, yeah, that's why we're here. That's why we're here today. So, let's dive into that a little bit more. And yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. Um, well, many ancient like civilizations have, um, at least in my culture, like they used to call something like aini and minkas. So these terms were like of collaboration. Like there was no transaction, there was no reward that you can see or perceive, but there was um, uh, there was like a commitment or like a sense of community. So if you want to help someone, you call upon them. You're like, hey, community, I need help harvesting this next week, and they will come help you, and you will harvest, and after the harvest, you will like share a meal or share some laughs and share like a fire, some music, and that sense of community will nurture the next time that someone else needed help, and everyone else will come and like help as well. And that was called Minka, and it was really big in the Inca Empire. Was actually the main way that they get things done, especially with the small villages and the small communities around the whole Tawantinsuyo. So yeah, and people still do it in some really small towns, especially the communities up in the mountains. They're still doing it. They don't use money. They're still living from the earth, harvesting, making meals, and if they need help, they just help each other. And I think that sort of mindset, it's important to develop when we want to achieve a common goal and a common desire, a common vision, especially to listen to each other and to nurture that relationship as well. Because even if we agree to do it for, I don't know, the next 5 years, if the relationship that we have with the community is not good, the work is going to get done, but then in a way that is not going to be helpful for anyone, in a way that's not going to bring harmony, but otherwise it's going to bring hate and a lot of other different problems, social problems. So I think that's why social relationships are so important, and I think that goes back to nurturing like that relationship based on the earth, and like and if you wanna believe in something, or you wanna have certain I don't know, it's up to people, it's up to the communities, but I feel like respecting and connecting to the earth, which is our main source of living, basically how we're still living, it's that centering this social relationship back to the earth, and then and that goes back to another tradition in Peru as well, that is like in August, the first day of August, they came together, everybody, and they feed the earth. So this ofrenda, and they don't feed like something different than what they are gifting each other. So they're feeding meals and stuff that you would give to another human being, because they conceive the earth as same as them, like a part of them. So it's a symbolism for when the earth is actually asking for that offer, and being hungry, because after the harvest she is hungry, because you're taking all the fruits, so you need to feed the earth and give it a rest. And that was like a really important thing back in the day, because people, the farmers will let the earth, the ground, rest for a long period of time before planting again, so the soil can recover and have the time to nurture itself again and be able to get birth again. Let's call it like that. But now that doesn't happen anymore. Like, that's longer forgotten, and nobody does that anymore. But some parts are still like they get this it's a sense of gratitude towards the earth, towards like a cycle, because we're all as humans, we're a collective, and we're a human collective, but we're not living in a different ecosystem than the earth. We're all part of it. So that connection that unifies all these energies and all these frequencies help us to keep our relationships in a way that are healthy, that are like harmonic, because I believe there's nothing more better to learn harmony than from nature itself. That's the main master, main teacher of harmony. So I feel just like that, just as simple as that.
It's beautiful. And that brings us to this idea of the world. Like, what does the world want? And it's easy to figure out what a small group of people want. Like, it's easy to form a shared goal, a shared desire in a small group of people. And it's just about, I think right now on the planet where we are is we have different desires. Different people have different desires and different beliefs. And yeah, there's a lot of turmoil, but at the same time, there's a lot of good things going on. And I think that this is how we start making the change to manifesting shared desires across the whole planet. And those shared desires should be things like to take care of the planet, to keep living, to understand and incorporate nature, and not separate it. I don't think it's any better to separate it and look at it than it is to knock it all down. Because it's about interacting with it. For me, it's life is here to live, and if we're not living together, then what's the point of being here together with all this beautiful earth? So, back to what I was saying, I think that we get there by first starting to empower people towards these collective goals. So I want to talk just for a minute about this system that we're sort of working on for CXC Tribe, and we're considering doing these manifestation moon meets. So for all tribe members, you can do anything that you want that is in line with our temple, and as long as you're doing something that is like in resonance with what we were reading before about the vision and the mission, you can get rewarded in purple for doing that. And we decide at the meeting who has done the most contributions. And I came up with this idea not by myself, but by looking at Fractally and watching what they were doing and trying to improve upon that system. So one thing that we had in Fractally was this big confusion about how to value or weight or rank contributions on a time basis. Because if we're meeting every week or if we're meeting every month and I do something 5 months ago, can I keep bringing it up? What if it's a good thing? What if it's actually still providing more value than somebody who did a bunch of work but then it didn't, nothing ever happened? So that's why I came up with these levels, and these are like the ways to group what you're doing. So manifestations are worth the most, and these are contributions that were delivered in this past month. And they're worth 1 minus phi, or lowercase phi, 61.8%. And then we have still rolling, which is worth pi cubed, or 26.3%. And these still rolling are contributions that are still providing value, but they have been delivered in a previous month. So what about the ones that, if you did a lot of work and you think it's really deserving, but it's kind of a little bit in the past? Well, we have one level called in the bag, which has phi squared, or 14.6%, and that is for whatever you've done that you still want to show off. And it's important that we do show these things off and we do tell each other what we're doing. I really believe that in these sort of organizations, because then we find out how to fit. We find out what our role is and how to work with these other roles. So yeah, that's what we've been sort of working towards, and then we will eventually be running Tribe with this. We're still drumming up support for Tribe, and yeah, and we're excited to see where it all goes. So
I have a bag. I think I have one bag in the back. How you say?
In the bag.
In the back. In the bag. Because I remember I created this document with ideas on how a different variation of a moon meeting, which was towards bringing more people in and people that necessarily don't know much about CXC or CXC Tribe, or but they are enthusiastic about blockchain, about the crypto world, DAOs. They are enthusiastic about learning more, and most importantly, seeing these new technologies being put into practice. You know, that's the big thing. How it's actually changing. So I think that getting a different meeting or a different sort of group of people where we can onboard them with what CXC is about, and getting a list of rewards, and I did a list of rewards that are possible that they can adopt, and they can feel like they can do something, and you feel like, man, you know, this might be a good thing that I enjoy doing and I'm getting rewarded for. And yeah, and I feel like these meetings are very important right now because, like you're saying, finding your role, it's the goal right now, because no one can come and be like, unless you are the greatest like visionary leader, you can be like, okay, you're good for this, you're good for that, you're good for that, and yeah, that can help at first, but then it has to be adaptable, and you have to be found yourself comfortable and having fun and enjoying what you're learning and what you're providing. So that's why I think like bringing people over by getting rewards and by getting little tasks that they can do, and they can keep sharing the word. It's a good way to also bring a little bit of promotion and create this energy of community.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. Beautifully put. So, what do you say we move on to the final section, our vision sharing?
Sure.
All right, so today we are here and we have been talking about how we can get together, how we can move together towards shared desires in our society. So, we're going to focus right now and we're going to go to our vision. And this is to share your idealized version of the world, right? So I want you to think big, I want you to feel big, and say, like, how can you see a world where people really work together, where they feel a part of this group, they feel unity in this group, and they feel that their purpose is seamlessly integrated with their people and their environment.
As a planet.
As the whole planet, or as any smaller group. So yeah, I mean, the idea with saying the planet is just to think big.
Yeah. Well, I would like to think big this time, and say that I think the moment we realize that we as humans alone, with all our abilities, with all our intellect, with all our knowledge, with all our beautiful parts, and we can make it alone. We need the animals, we need nature, we need the water, we need the air that we breathe in, we need the mountains, we need every single element that we can feel and see in this planet. The moment I think that we realize that we're all helping each other, and we can receive help from these other elements, and we can help these elements as well in a reciprocal way. I think in that moment, like, it's just done. It's like there is nothing to like figure out, because we will understand and we will reach a different conscious density when we understand that the growth is no longer related to monetary side, or like the physical side. It's way beyond that, and at that moment it's just automatic. It's like it's just done.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you want to pass the talking stick? I forgot to.
I want to pass the
Talking stick.
to Douglas.
Thank you. Yeah, so how do we get together? Well, for me, I see geometry, I see like these fractal shapes like um where there's one bigger thing and then it goes down and makes these smaller little packets, and I think that that's the only way to get there, and the only way to make that big change in the whole world like Corellia was talking about is to first start at the smallest level, to first each individual starting to have this option, this easy route to be more connected with nature. And I think that route is there now. It just needs to be a little bit more reinforced, a little bit more popularized. And, the truth is that we're fighting all kinds of different forces, but we don't need to be fighting. Like, I think that the whole thing about collective desire is that, like, there is enough space on this earth for different collective desires to manifest. And just like we have different countries form, different states and cities, although we don't really think about this too much, most of them were founded by either one person or a group of people that were like, okay, we're going to do this. And those first people, they had an idea for what they wanted for that town. And towns are very specialized. And still, in Peru, like the towns will make one specific thing. And that's their collective goal or desire, is to build that. So my ideal vision for how we can empower more people through this is to give people the power at the smallest level, between 2 or 3 people, to better declare like what we're doing and how we can take these measurable steps. And different groups may be more or less organized. They may have more or different ways to organize, different ways to communicate, as well as you may think that you have the same desire, but you may be saying the same words but be meaning something very different or be coming from different places. So the more that we can, number one, communicate exactly what we desire. Number two, share together, or let's say create that dialogue so that you can determine whether or not the people that you're working with really want this shared desire. And then that also comes with this idea of discovery. So if we start to utilize technology to allow people to share what they want to do, if they opt into making it public, they could, broadcast a message around the world like, here's what I want to do, and here's how I think it could manifest. And then other people who also want to see the same thing can jump in. So my ideal vision is that software, and maybe it is a software. Maybe this software isn't in code. It's just a ritual that we do, like a town meeting. All kinds of places where I'm from, you have a town meeting to discuss important things. Well, what if we have town meetings every solstice to discuss things that aren't problems? Why are we waiting until there's an emergency to have a town meeting? Let's have a town meeting to discuss, what good things we want to see in this year, what things are working, what things could be improved. So I'm in the process of discovery. I've been bumping up against incredible technologies in metaverses, in all kinds of different spaces, and I know that. Oh my god, my phone is trying to listen to me. Oh god. I need to figure out how to disable Bixby. Anyway, so yeah, like this ability to share what we're working on, whether in a town, whether in a group, or just a person who wants to serve that purpose, wants to serve their purpose, where we can get together and share what we want to do, our skills, how we want to do it, and make it fun to come together and have meets physically, have meets virtually, but keep coming together and focusing on the same thing. And then through that, through those small packets of collective desire, we start to train ourselves and we start to tap into the real magic here, because there is magic. There is this consciousness formula in the universe that allows us to become so much more powerful when we focus together, and so much more incredible and beautiful and magnificent. So that's what I see, and that's what I'm excited about.
Thank you. This is great. This is a great input. I love it. Thank you.
And thank you. And thank you for coming to Moon Meet 5. My name's Douglas.
My name is Carolina.
And we'll see you next month. We'll be talking about a new topic, and we hope that you gain something from watching us this month. Thanks for coming. Peace.